Hello and welcome to Open Line. I'm Starlene Stringer. You know, springtime often brings the threat of severe weather here in North Texas, and we want to help you stay safe. Our guests from the City of Irving's Office of Emergency Management are here to talk about weather dangers and other initiatives that they are involved in. They are Allison Barrow, Assistant Emergency Management Coordinator. And we also have with us today Greg Godecker. He is the Emergency Management Planner. Thank you both so much for being here. Well, we are going to talk about the weather, of course, but before we get to that, I want to ask you, Allison, can you just tell us overall about the city's Office of Emergency Management? What exactly are your responsibilities?
Sure. So basically, the Office of Emergency Management is involved in all the steps of preparedness, response, recovery. We would be involved in making plans, exercises, procedures, doing trainings with internal staff, as well as external agencies that we would be involved with for any types of large events or emergencies.
A lot of stuff, it sounds like.
Yes.
Okay, so now, Greg, we are going to talk about weather. And one of the things people have on the top of their mind here in Texas at this time of the year is something that's pretty scary to most of us, which is tornadoes. What can Irving residents do to prepare for them?
Well, one of the biggest things we tell our residents to do is to be situationally aware. Pay attention to your local weatherman, whichever guy you like to watch on television, the weather apps that are out there nowadays, the weather radio, which we brought today. Just those are steps that you can take at home, and then reach out to us if you have questions. You know, we're always there to answer, things like where's the safest place in my house? You want to put as many walls between you and the outside as possible. So there's some of the easy steps you can take to prepare for, in case we get the severe weather that has tornadoes.
Okay. And then, Allison, what about if you're in a car? He mentioned a house, but what if you're in your car?
It's important to try to go seek shelter as much as you can. If you are in a car, it's important to keep informed and listen to your radio and listen to what's going on, as well as trying to get to a shelter location.
Interesting. Okay. And Greg, another question I have for you is, what do we need to know about the differences between a tornado watch and a tornado warning?
It's the most important thing about a tornado watch is that conditions are favorable. And when you have a warning, it means that the threat is already occurring. So there's either a tornado on the ground, or there would be a radar signature that tells the National Weather Service, hey, I need to issue the warning.
Interesting. Okay, and so obviously you need to be more prepared or ready to get into that place of safe shelter if they are telling you there's actually something on the ground.
Correct.
Right. Okay, so Allison, Irving does have storm sirens, which can be very helpful at this time of year. How are they used?
So they're actually outdoor warning sirens, and we have 25 sirens that are located strategically throughout the city to be able to try to warn as many residents as possible. But they are meant to warn residents who are outside only. So it's important to go inside and seek additional information once hearing those. And it's also important to have things like a NOAA weather radio or other types of items inside in order to seek additional information.
Okay.
But the sirens are actually used for things like large hail or very high winds or an actual tornado warning issued by the National Weather Service or seen by a trained spotter.
I see. Now, so you mentioned that you need to seek shelter. So Greg, I want to ask you this then. If you're in your home, can you hear those sirens?
Sometimes you can hear them depending upon how close you are to the siren or if the wind is blowing in your direction. But we tell our residents that you shouldn't rely on the sirens alone if you're inside your home, because they're meant to be heard for people outside so they can seek shelter inside.
I see. And how are they tested?
We test them the first Wednesday of every month, weather depending. Basically what that means is that if it's cloudy outside or if it's a rainy day, we do what we call a silent test. And if we do a silent test, you won't necessarily hear all of the sirens. Some of our sirens, you may hear them do a little growl, but typically the first Wednesday of every month.
I see. And Allison, I understand people can stay updated on what's going on weather-wise with something called a weather radio, right?
Yes.
Can you tell us about it?
Sure. So weather radios can be found anywhere from places like CVS or Walgreens or even Walmart during severe weather season, and they can be found for about $25 to $30. Essentially, the way it works is that you can program it for your specific county,
Okay.
And the information, so if there's like a tornado warning or a severe thunderstorm warning, it'll actually go off, make a very loud siren noise, alarm noise, and basically alert you to that information inside your home. So the really great thing about weather radios is that you can even be sleeping and they will still alert you to that information.
So what would be different in that and in the television warnings that you may receive or regular radio? Is it because that one is going to work even if your TV's not working?
Even if you're asleep. So it can be available, you can put it next to your bed or somewhere in your bedroom, so that you can still get those valuable alerts. And, because a lot of times severe weather can happen in the middle of the night too. So it's always important to be able to receive that information.
Makes good sense. Thank you. Now, Greg, another thing people can get really concerned about and should at this time of the year around here would be flooding. Tell us, what can people do to stay safe in those situations?
The same things we talked about with tornadoes, situational awareness. When you're out driving on the roads, it's a good practice to slow down and keep, extra car lengths in front of you. And if you do come across a situation where there's water across the road, we tell the people, turn around, don't drown, because you don't know how deep that water is. You might be able to see even if the water is moving fast. It doesn't take much water for moving water to wash a car away.
And something else that's concerning when you talk about rain and flooding, Allison, lightning, right?
Yes.
How are people affected by that?
It's always important whenever you see severe thunderstorm warnings or even just severe thunderstorm watches to keep apprised of the weather, whether you're outside and listening for those outdoor warning system, the sirens, or if you're inside, keeping tuned into the local news stations or radio stations, things like that, in order to receive information. And if you see lightning, it's important to go inside or to find additional shelter.
Great advice. I think sometimes people feel like, oh, lightning's not going to strike me or it's not going to hit my house or my car, but it does happen, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. So it's always important to keep informed of the information.
Thank you. And Greg, something else we have to consider when you're talking about heavy rain and storms, hail. Hail damage can be very strong and very bad. Cracked windshields can be a problem, not just that, but then roof damage to your homes, and it can be very expensive. What's your advice if hail is in the forecast?
If hail's in the forecast, my best advice would just be to stay inside, because there's not much you can do to protect your car against hail. There's not much you can do to protect your home. It's just one of those things that if it starts to hail outside, you're at the mercy of the weather, realistically.
And for those people that stop under the overpasses and block all the traffic and stop freeways and leave others in the air, go ahead, tell them don't do it.
Yeah, it's not a safe practice to stay underneath the underpasses, and it became common in the early days, but now the National Weather Service has really put out a lot of good information about not stopping underneath the underpass.
Thank you. That was like personal. Someone did that to me before. Could you tell?
Yeah.
So, Allison, something else I want to talk about that can occur at this time of the year quite frequently, power outages. How can we prepare in advance for those?
So there's something called a 72-hour kit,
Okay.
Which can be important to prepare before an emergency happens. It can be used for something as small as a power outage, but things that you would want to include would be like water, food, all sorts of the essentials that you might need in the event of a large emergency or disaster. So it's important to have those types of things on hand before something happens, so that if you are without power, that you can still have those available.
Yeah, and so when you say that, people start going, what? Does she mean that we could be out of power for like a long period of time? Because we're so used to the power company getting the power right back on if it goes out. But there's a possibility it could be down for more than the 30 minutes or so we're used to, right?
Yes, just depending on the size of the emergency, it could be down for a longer period of time.
I see. Now, Allison, there's a special program coming up for those interested in severe weather. It's called Skywarn. Can you tell me about it?
Sure.
Okay.
So this is actually a partnership between the City of Irving and the City of Grand Prairie Emergency Management, and we are actually hosting a Skywarn program with the National Weather Service. They're actually going to come out and give a class for residents. It will be on Tuesday night, March 29th from 7 to 9 p.m. And it will tell residents, they'll talk about severe weather formation, how to be prepared for severe weather, as well as additional, just basic weather information and learning, more about the National Weather Service and what they do.
Wonderful. So it's really a class that anyone could benefit from taking, and not just those are like, I have some friends that are like those ones that are storm chasers and things like that, not for them. So all of us could go and actually get information we need.
Yes.
I love it. Thank you for sharing that. Also, Allison, what are some of the other ways your team works with residents to really help educate them?
So we have a very robust public education campaign that we do within the city. We partner with a program called Know What to Do, which is actually a regional program that was created by emergency managers in this area. We utilize a lot of their materials, but basically it has information on how to create a go kit with food and water, all the things that we talked about previously, you know, with clothes and money, all those types of things that you might need in a go kit, as well as how to create plans with your family. You know, how are you going to get out of your house? Do you have 2 exits to be able to exit the house? You know, where are you going to meet up once you get outside of the house? Those types of things. And then just how to be prepared, you know about the types of disasters that can affect this area. And talk with, you know, the local emergency management department or others within the city, and then get involved. So we also do public education presentations where we actually go out and speak to residents over basic emergency preparedness.
I love it. Very good information. And so, like, how young should someone have their kids come with them to this event, or young kids, or should it be like older adults? Does everyone in the family need to know? Who needs to be there when you
For
educate?
the Skywarn program, it's really for any ages can attend.
I see.
For our basic emergency preparedness presentations, those are actually catered specifically to the groups that we're hosting. So we've done classes, you know, we just actually recently did an elementary school presentation for, you know, the entire elementary school basically, where we actually focus it just specific on, you know, basic emergency preparedness, you know, how to create a go kit, how do you go talk to your family about, you know, what you might need in the event of an emergency, those types of things. So to be able to take it home to their parents too. But we really cater it to any group, just depending on what they're interested in and the ages.
That's really good to know. Yeah, I was recently at some kind of event where the firefighters were talking to the children, the young children, and I had my daughter there, and she was dressed in a little tutu, which is her favorite right now. And he said, if you have a smoke in your house, get on the floor and you need to crawl. And then she's like, oh, my tutu would get dirty. And I said, that's okay. Then you can get your clothes dirty. So it's good that you break it down for young children and let them know what to do in cases of emergency, because you never know what's going through their minds. So thank you. And Greg, now I have a question for you. The city has a system called iAlert. How is that used exactly?
We use it for situations where we might have a missing person, or if we have evacuations in certain parts of the city, or if we're doing mosquito spraying. It's just a way for us, it's a message alert system that if you have a landline, we have everybody's phone number in there. But residents, we also encourage them to go sign up online, and basically you can sign up your phone number, your cell phone numbers, your email address, you can put text messages, any way you want the system to contact you. And it's a way for us, it's just another method for our department to reach out to you and give you, you know, crucial information.
Thank you. And so, Allison, is that the only way to sign up, is online?
The best way to sign up is online, because you can actually create a profile. So if you ever moved or your mobile phone was, you know, you changed mobile phone numbers, you can actually go on there and edit the information. And that's actually available on the City of Irving website. And you can find it down in the bottom right-hand corner. And there's a link for the iAlert website. But there's also a way, if you do not have the ability to sign up online, then you can actually contact our office and we can help you with that process.
Wonderful. And so I know another way for residents to get involved is a program called CERT. What exactly is that?
CERT is a community emergency response team. It was created a few years back within the city. It's actually a FEMA-sponsored program, so it's all over national. But basically, it's to help the people who take the CERT program to help themselves and their neighbors in the event of a large emergency or disaster. And we can also use those residents, once they've taken the program, once they've taken the basic training, to help us in the event of a large disaster within the city of Irving as well.
Wonderful. We were looking at a little video of that right now, and it looks like a lot of people attend. How successful has it been?
So the past few years, we've actually upped the number of residents that we can allow in this program because it has had such a success. We are actually up to about 55 to 60 people per class, and we actually host it once a year. in the springtime.
And I understand those classes do fill up pretty quickly, right?
Yes.
So how do people sign up?
So once the dates are finalized, I send out the information to City Spectrum, and then I also have a notification list. So if anybody's interested in taking the class, I can put their information on the notification list and then send out the dates and how to sign up through that email. But it's basically done through the city website, the City of Irving website. There's actually an online form that residents can go and sign up for the class.
Wonderful, thank you. Now, Greg, we've spent a whole lot of time talking about weather, but of course y'all take care of a lot of other things too. What are some of the other concerns that you address?
Some of the other concerns that we face, our department, we have hazardous material releases, whether a gasoline spill or if there's some type of chemical release. We deal with large apartment fires. Anytime the police department or the fire department needs our support for extra resources, our department, emergency management, we come in and we help get them those resources. So whether it's hazardous material releases, special events like the Byron Nelson or our 4th of July parade, those are some of the things that we help coordinate.
Wonderful. And so Allison, what would you like to add to that list? What other things do you do?
So we also, are always keeping apprised of any types of public health issues that are occurring throughout the region and the state, as well as, nuclear threats, all of those types of things. Very large emergencies or disasters are the things that, we're keeping an eye on.
Okay, and I understand you do some practicing and do some drills and exercises. Greg, can you tell us about those?
Yeah, we drill and we exercise almost every department within the city on the different types of emergencies or incidents that they may face, whether it be an IT disaster or a terrorist event. We have a very strong program where we drill all of our departments. Once a year, we'll do tabletop discussions with them. We'll do full-scale exercises where we'll bring in other jurisdictions to help play with us, other agencies, state agencies, federal agencies that'll help, make sure that our city is prepared as we can be.
Wonderful. Now, Allison, something else we're used to seeing at some of your events is this big mobile command unit. What is that used for?
So that is used for large events or disasters. In order to be almost like a communications unit, a mobile command vehicle. So it would have police and fire, emergency management, all the different agencies that would be helping the response. They would be in there and being able to use the communications features. There's different types of radios that can connect, all over the region, through the state. So it's really a large communications vehicle that we can set up to help us with an emergency, a disaster, or even special events.
I see. And you mentioned special events. What are some of those events where your team has a presence?
So we are involved in the Byron Nelson, and we go out there every single year. We take the command vehicle out there. And things like tactical call-outs are also things that the command vehicle would be used for.
Interesting. Okay. Well, Greg, let's get back to the weather, of course. We have talked a lot about preparation, but your team is also there to help in the response after the storm passes, right?
Correct. Our office, we prepare, we respond to, and we help the city recover from any type of weather incident. I mean, if there's a flooding event and we have to do evacuations, we'll be helping coordinate that. If there's a tornado that goes through our city, then we help our fire and police, and we help coordinate that response. So we have our emergency operations center where our staff will be set up in there helping. Whatever disaster strikes Irving, we'll be there making sure that our guys have enough what they need to respond to it.
Wonderful. So Allison, I want to ask you a question. When you guys go out and talk to the community, what kind of questions do they ask you?
A lot of things they ask, what type of information can be included in a Go Kit, what is a Go Kit, what types of plans can be put into place, just how to be prepared for different types of severe weather, and those types of things are really the information that we get from residents.
Wonderful. Well, since they're asking those questions, let's answer that for them for those that may have just tuned in. What exactly needs to go in the Go Kit?
So the types of things that can go in a Go Kit include food, water, anything up to 72 hours so that you can be on your own for 72 hours. Because in the event of a large emergency or disaster, police and fire may be taxed. So it's always important to have that together so that in the event of emergency, you can utilize that. But we also suggest you to have clothes, can opener, all the essentials that you might need.
Sure, some things you may not think about in a moment that you're just kind of like scared and don't know what to do. So that's great advice from you. Thank you, Allison. And Greg, for those who may have missed what you had to say about where to seek shelter in the event of something like a tornado, where do you go?
We tell people to put as many walls between you and the outside, whether that's a sturdy, bathroom or closet. Basically, you want to move away from windows, get inside, get as far inside your home as you can.
Wonderful. And I know we talked about kids a bit earlier, but y'all recently spoke to a group of children. How did that go?
It went great. They really enjoyed the PowerPoint presentation that we provided that was very kid-specific, and they also took out the command vehicle, so they got to see the outside of the command vehicle.
And I'm imagining their questions were quite different than the questions you get from adults. So what did they ask you?
Yes. Actually, Greg was the one that was at this event.
So Greg can tell you
yes.
exactly, can tell us.
Our biggest question was, does it have free Wi-Fi available on it? That
Smart
was
kids.
And they asked if we had video games in there too.
Oh wow, they got to have fun in moments like that, right?
They do.
Kids will be kids. Very interesting. Okay, well, if I'm involved in a group or an organization and I want to have one of you or your team come out and speak or host one of these events that you've been telling us about today where you help the community be more aware, how do you go about getting that done?
So on our website, the cityofirving.org/emergency-management, there's actually a form that you can fill out for public education or public information. Either way, we can give you information, give you materials, or we can come out and present to you.
And what other type of information can we get from the website for those who are just interested in what you have to share? What else is there?
Sure. So we have a weather radar that's actually on our website. We also have information about the volunteer programs, the Community Emergency Response Team, as well as a RACES team, which is our amateur radio group that also volunteers with us. And we have information about the different types of emergencies that can occur in the city and how to be prepared.
Wonderful. Well, I think everyone's a bit more prepared now that they've heard the two of you tell us what we should do. So thank you so much for taking your time out of your schedule to share. Thank you both.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And thank you for watching. We are just about to end the show, but I want to make sure you know that you can tune into ICTN on Thursday, April 7th at 1:30 p.m. for our next edition of Open Line. It will be our election special, and we'll hear from the candidates running for City Council. We'll see you then.